Hi, welcome to Give Me the Bible, where God's Word speaks for itself. In continuing our discussion of proper biblical interpretation, we just noted in the last video that we always need to zoom out before zooming in. We always need to take a step back and look at the big picture of the Bible before we zoom in to the detailed aspects, the detailed chapters or verses within certain books. And so what I want to do for this video is to help you see how the Bible is laid out. So for instance, if you open your table of contents, open a table of contents in the Bible, we're going to notice again that there are 39 books in the Old Testament, 27 in the New. And I want to teach you the divisions of these books, how these books are divided up. And let me just say this will be a little bit more of a technical designation for these books. These are how these books are traditionally understood to be divided up. If you want the more basic version, again, go to Give Me the Bible number 2, the second video that I ever made. Give Me the Bible number 2, and you'll notice a very simple, an even more simplistic way of breaking these books down. But here's kind of the technical designations. Genesis through Deuteronomy, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, these are known as the law. Okay, the law, specifically the law of Moses. This is how the Jews designated these books. In fact, Moses is traditionally believed to be the one who wrote Genesis through Deuteronomy. So those first 5 books are known as the law. Then the next 12 books from Joshua through Esther, these are known as the books of history. And they're called that simply because that's what they record. They record the history of God's people. And really they record the history of God's people trying to do what God said in the law, okay, in those first 5 books. And most of the time they failed miserably to do that, but that's what those books are, the books of history. And then the next 5 books, from Job to Song of Solomon, these are known as the books of wisdom. So they're going to read a little bit differently than, say, the books of history. There's going to be a lot more poetry involved, okay, a lot more figurative language, a lot more imagery involved, and maybe even short, succinct statements like the book of Proverbs, specifically starting in chapter 10 and going until the end of the book in chapter 31. You have these short, succinct wisdom statements. And wisdom is basically just how to use knowledge on a practical level, how to put book knowledge into practical everyday knowledge, or excuse me, everyday use. And that's what wisdom is. That's what the books of wisdom do. They help you basically do what God says in His law better. It helps you apply what God says in His law to everyday life situations. That's what the books of wisdom are, Job through Song of Solomon. And then the next section is from Isaiah to Daniel, the next 5 books there. Isaiah to Daniel, these are known as the major prophets. And they're known as the major prophets compared to the minor prophets because of the length of their ministry. They had much longer ministries. In fact, when you read their books, typically they're a lot longer than the other prophets. And that leads us to the last section, which is from Hosea down through Malachi, and these are known as the minor prophets. Okay, and the prophets were people who came to basically warn God's people, hey, if you don't straighten up and do what God said in the law, well, you're going to be judged. Okay, you're going to be punished. That's what the prophets did. And what I want you to notice as well, just a helpful way to view this, is the way that the Old Testament is divided up. You have the first 5 books are the law, and then the next 12 books are the books of history, and then the next 5 books are the books of wisdom, and then the next 5 books are the major prophets, and the next 12 books are the minor prophets. So what you have, as far as sections go, you have 5, 12, 5, 5, 12. Okay, 5, 12, 5, 5, 12. Just an interesting way to keep that in mind. In the New Testament, you have the first 4 books. These are the Gospels, Matthew through John. These record the history of Jesus while He was on the earth, while He was teaching people, and they tell us what Jesus says. Acts is kind of like the book of history of the New Testament. It talks about the history of the church beginning and how the church spread as people tried to do what Jesus said. And then you have the letters, okay, which are from Romans through Jude. These 21 books are known as letters, and these are, or you may hear it referred to as epistles. Okay, that's what that means, the letters. And some of these letters were written to churches, some of these letters were written to individuals, some were written by Paul, some by Peter, some by James, some by Jude. Okay, but those are letters that are written. And then Revelation is the last division of the Bible, and that's just known as the book of prophecy, Revelation, written to give comfort to Christians who are being persecuted at the Roman Empire, showing that God is still acting behind the scenes and God will have victory. Revelation basically just says Jesus wins, okay, in the end. So I hope that's helpful to see from a big picture perspective, so that whenever you want to zoom into one of these books in particular, you'll have a context within which to give it meaning. Hope that's helpful. Thank you so much for your interest in spiritual things, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time.